So this covers the first mortgage. You paid off over 4 years. It's, 50% less. It'll be less to buy than to rent. In other words, we'll be able to afford any marketplace. And then that brings us to the second loan. And that loan will be sitting there at $150,000. And the interest from this comes to about $40,000 or $10,000 a year. Now that's the simple interest. That's if you pay off the interest each year, it's only $10,000. The compound interest, this is actually wrong. We'll have to have the economist change this. It's actually closer to $70,000. It's actually closer to $72,000. In other words, it's 40% of the $200,000 loan. And so the compound interest is you have what you're getting to do is write off the equivalent of 40% of $200,000 loan without touching the original value of the loan. And here's where we discovered it. We looked at the auto lease. So you go and you buy a car, you lease a car for 2, 3, 4 years, you put a down payment, and you pay your monthlies. And the bank holds that second loan, but they don't charge any interest on it. And that's the reason why you're able to actually, so then you go back and you'll only pay whatever the remaining part of the loan is. And we realized, well, if you did the same thing with real estate, you would be able to pay off 25% in that first term. If you don't, if you charge that interest, then what you end up with is the equivalent of an interest-only loan. This is one of the mortgage products that they are offering people. That they call it an interest-only loan. You pay it off for 4 years. At the end of that time, you would have a balloon payment. We're going to put yes instead of no. And so now it's pretty much back to the original value of, you've paid off about 5%. So this is the old mortgage product. In other words, this is a system that they've already used. What we're saying is have the same, interest-only loan for the same 4 years, but this time the bank writes off the interest. And it's much more affordable for a bank to write off the interest at $10,000 a year than it is for them to write off 25%, or in a growing number of cases, 50% in order to move those properties. Now remember, doing it our way allows the same mortgage price for the buyer as if the bank had written off 50%. So it's a bit of an accounting semantic, but it still has the same impact. Here's another beautiful thing, is that the bank can write off the compound interest the simple interest each and every year, or they can write off the compound interest in the 5th year. They get a bigger tax break that way. And here's the beauty of it. Right now, they can collect that interest from the Federal Reserve at just 2%, but they get to write off 6.5%, 7%. That's profit for them. They're making money off of that, so that's a good day for them. So here's another great thing. It gives the banks 6 different ways to write down the loan. They can pay it off over 4 years, each year, just the interest. They can add something to the down payment in the first loan, or they can add something to the down payment on the second loan in the 5th year. So there's all these different ways that they can play with writing this down. They can pay off some of the principal if it needs to for the market, or they can pay off just the principal. Writing off the principal, again, is worth 40% of the loan. And here's another beautiful thing. It doesn't have to be the banks. It could be a developer. So a developer has this $200,000 apartment, which, as we know, is the full price. They haven't reduced their price. Right now, developers are offering these properties at 20, 30% less, and they're financing the properties for the homeowners, and they're charging them 2% interest. So now what they can do is charge them 6% interest on that first loan, and that comes out to about $5,000, $6,000 in interest payments that they're getting. It's a great deal for them. And then they get to write off 6.5%, 7% on the second loan, and at the end of that time they can refinance. So developers can do it, cities can do it. So it provides a number of options to all the players of the real estate deal. So here's some of the exciting things that we've discovered. I think you've gotten an idea of how dramatically this expands our options, how easily it will allow us to start getting, what do they call it, getting your head around the problem, getting your head around this, or, in this case, we're able to, here's the secret of an auto lease system, is that it pays down a depreciating asset while still maintaining the original value of that loan. And the greatest part of that depreciation is the banks not charging any interest on that second loan. And then the other big secret is a little down payment on the first loan, because it's such a smaller loan, has this dramatic, incredible impact in reducing it. So, whoops, sorry about that. So here's, if we were to apply this to the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac crises, as everyone knows, they are responsible in one degree or another for about 50% of America's $12 trillion worth of real estate mortgages. So they're responsible for about $5 trillion. If the federal government just put in that 10%, excuse me, not 10%, 5%, or they put in the 10%, yeah, they put in 10%, that would be $500 billion. It sounds like a lot, but you have to remember there's homeowners that will put in the down payment. You have developers that will put in the down payment. So the government only actually needs to put in about 5%. So about 5% of $5 trillion is $250 billion. The government puts in this $250 billion across the board. Everyone's mortgage is now cut by 50%. And here's the beauty of it. There's no inflation. Why? Because, well, there's several reasons why. The first reason is the government is putting in $250 billion, which is 10%, but the banks are writing off 3 times that amount. They're going to be writing off anywhere between $40,000 to $70,000 per mortgage. The government's only put in 2. So more money is being taken out, more cash is being taken out of the economy than put in by the government. So this will help inflation. Another reason is that one of the reasons why the U.S. Is having this inflation is that we have a growing number of trillion-dollar mortgages that nobody wants to touch. So there's more money out there than there is product to absorb it. What we will have done is taken this $5 trillion or $12 trillion worth of real estate and made it of value to investors again. It will absorb all that money that's now circulating outside this mortgage thing. So that's another reason why there will now be less money. And you know what? This can all be done in like 30 days. Maybe the best part of it is a couple things. First of all, it doesn't actually require government legislation. And it doesn't. The government doesn't have to put in the money. If they do, it will allow us to, cut mortgages by 50% instead of 30%. But really, the only thing we do need is for them to know about it. It's hard to get past the secretary sometime as a lowly, little realtor here. But if everyone sends in, a little email to their local representative or their federal representative or their media, either in their hometown or national media, or just share it with your friends and family. It'll only take a few thousand emails in order to get their attention. And we can put, at least look into this more carefully. I've made about 300 presentations. We've accounted for every smart guy's idea of why this won't work. We can get into that at another time, and we've had an answer for it. At least it will change the tone and direction of this crisis, which right now where everyone feels there is no answer, and today we're here to let you know that there is. And doesn't require any money from you, just a little bit of time, and please pass on the good word.